This is Twit.
Cecilia, you found yourself caught up in kind of a big thing on the internet around wearing glass and driving. Why don't you kind of explain the situation and what happened?
So since May 1st, I've been wearing Google Glass all day long. So I wake up and half an hour later, I'm wearing glass until the end of the day. And then that's what I do. And when I'm driving, I'm also wearing Google Glass. And one day in October, I was stopped by an officer and I didn't even remember I was wearing it because I wasn't actively using it at that time. And he can remind me that I was wearing Google Glass and he wasn't very happy about it. And he asked me a lot of questions, which I only could answer, I'm just wearing it. And I didn't know it was illegal. And he started to imply that it was illegal to wear Google Glass.
Did the officer recognize right away what it was? Like, was he like, oh, you're wearing Google Glass, I see.
Yeah, this was very shocking because usually they don't recognize it or they have the question. But his first mention of Google Glass was, why are you wearing Google Glass while driving? So he totally knew what it was.
Okay.
All right. So he's a fan.
By name. Well,
so there you
maybe.
No.
I don't know. That remains to be seen here. So you were stopped. You were stopped because of speeding. Is that right? And then
that is right. So
okay.
I was, well, we all know in Southern California, we drive pretty fast, but I also was inadvertently in an area that was 65. I thought it was a little higher.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he said I was speeding.
Okay. But then gave you kind of a citation for the glass aspect, which is based around a law for both, right? Which is based around a law here in California, which basically says if you have a second screen that's within view, they can give you a ticket if that screen happens to be on, distracted driving, all that.
And that's mainly for those minivans with the LCD display on the dashboard, although they don't let you play it while you're but to keep people from basically watching TV while driving.
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of a murky water when you think about all the things that are at least given a pass, like navigation screens. That's absolutely a screen that's on your dash.
And also
there
now
are specific exceptions though in the law. So the code law has specific exceptions for GPS and navigation and other things. So that makes sense within the law.
Mm-hmm. I feel doubly bad for that time period when I was watching Netflix on my drive home from here.
You should.
That was not wise. I'm glad I didn't get pulled over.
I have never done that, Ron, ever. Maybe once. But.
So you got the double tickets basically.
Yes. So, but obviously, having most people have had one at least once in their lives a speeding ticket. That wasn't a big deal. But the Google Glass was very surprising because I think all of us glass explorers, we were under the assumption that it was legal. And my main reason to believe that is because in some states, they were trying to introduce legislation to prohibit Google Glass. So I assumed if the legislation is not there, it's all good.
Right. And not to mention, I feel like in a lot of the promotional material and one of the stated kind of benefits of wearing glass is the navigation aspect of it. It kind of goes against itself when it says, well, yes, you can use your glass for driving navigation, but you can't drive with Google Glass on. So it kind of gets a little murky there. So you had your day in court. That was last Thursday, I believe.
So I want to kind of, before we do that, so you decided to contest the ticket, you wanted to challenge it basically, or what, how did you just didn't want to just pay the fine and move on?
No, because it didn't seem very clear that the law was really trying to regulate glass for once. It wasn't very clear that just by wearing, you would be in an infraction. Mm-hmm. So in reality, it wasn't very clear at all. And then I got legal advice, from my traffic guys in San Diego, awesome lawyers that helped me with the case. Mm-hmm. And the law was pretty clear in the end.
So that was my next question, was whether or not you brought a lawyer with you to the hearing, or did you do it by yourself? And did at any point, did Google reach out to you, or have you spoken to Google up until the point of the hearing, or?
I can really talk specifics about conversations with Google, more than the normal conversations that we all as explorers have. I can't really comment on that. So
that's a fair answer, and I'll gladly read between the lines.
Okay, so you had your day in court. That was last Thursday, and apparently, it seemed like it was about an hour, right? Was that about the amount of time that it took?
Maybe even shorter, maybe 30 minutes.
Okay, all right. I was peeled trying to watch to see what happened, and apparently Commissioner John Blair ruled not guilty, saying that it could not be proven that the display was actually on at the time. And I think this is part of the challenge of glass, right? Because people see glass, they make assumptions about it, about what it is doing at all the time, at all times, what it's capable of doing, and everything. And I think some people think that when you're wearing it, you're actively engaging with it all the time. It's always on. The screen is always there, distracting you and everything. Yep. And in this case, the screen was not on, and you were proven not guilty because they really couldn't prove that it was on.
Which technically we know that it would be very hard to prove that it was on.
It would.
I guess. So my reading of what happened is that it's okay to wear glass. Nobody can tell you that it's not okay to wear glass. And that's a big relief for all of us explorers.
I would agree.
So that's very clear. But if you're mingling with it with your hand up here and an officer sees you, then you could be in trouble. So I think as long as you're using your hands-free features, you have an awesome, safe device, hands-free, perfect for the car, and you're not it's going to be very hard that you get the ticket.
And that's interesting. I wonder if, and I'm speaking hypothetically or rhetorically, and you don't necessarily need to answer, Cecilia, especially if you can't, but more to Jason and Gina. Do you think the glass device keeps a log of when the display is active, and could that eventually become used as in evidence? Because they say they have to prove that it was on while someone was driving, and is there some sort of, I know the logging that normal systems kind of do. I can pull up my computer and say when the display was active and when it went to sleep and all stuff like that. I wonder if glass is the same thing. So.
There's got to be logging like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's like any Android device, you can do the ADB log cat or cat log. I never know which one it is.
Yep.
But I'm sure you can get logged. So in a criminal case, so let's say you're driving and you unfortunately get into a very bad accident and someone gets hurt, I think they could pull the glass as an evidence and see your record.